Story 1. Timothy Snyder literally wrote a book on what each of us can do, containing 20 lessons. 1. Do not obey in advance. Défends l'institution. Beware the one-party state. Take responsibility for the face of the world. Remember professional ethics. Be wary of paramilitaries. Be reflective if you must be armed. Stand out. Be kind to our language. 10. Believe in truth. 11. Investigate. 12. Make eye contact and small talk. 13. Practice corporeal politics. 14. Establish a private life. 15. Contribute to good causes. 16. Learn from peers in other countries. 17. Listen for dangerous words. 18. Be calm when the unthinkable arrives. 19. Be a patriot. 20. Be as courageous as you can. Story 2. When Americans get a bloody nose. It took 2 years for America to join World War II, and only then after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. There will have to be large-scale suffering and/or deaths for most Americans to mobilize, even against fascism. But that's coming. Story 3. To be blunt, the current president is an extreme narcissist with early signs of Alzheimer's showing. He experienced this to a severe degree towards the end of his term when he broke apart from nearly everyone, including his own vice president and his own wife. And we have people supporting this kind of man. It will take another country at this point to put him down and put him in his place, because nobody with the power in the United States would do such a thing. Ironically, he's doing a very good job ensuring that the United States is weakening as a whole. For someone who wants to reign supremacy and be remembered, should Ukraine fall, he'll be remembered as the man who single-handedly ensured that the United States is no longer a power player in the global economy, because the United States has shown itself to not be trusted. That's how fascism is likely to be destroyed. Trump, Elon, the entire Republican Party will end up destroying it themselves by ensuring the United States can no longer show supremacy over other countries, because they are no longer a reliable military ally or trading partner. No Democrat will ever be able to kindle the ties of countries together, and the United States will forever be shattered. Even if a dictator took over the United States, it would no longer matter, because the world will be learning to function without the United States, and doing a very good job at it. Congrats, conservatives. I hope the liberal tears were worth it. Story 4. Drone strikes. The next Democratic nominee has to run on "the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi" platform and put their money where their mouth is once in office. Story 5. Not only is this not going to get better until it gets much worse, but it's also going to happen again. We have people still living today who grew up in the ghettos and survived the camps. Imagine how those people feel to see this happening again. This will keep happening every 80 to 100 years until one thing is changed. Nazism must be completely destroyed. For society to grow and prosper, not a trace of the Nazis can remain. If we allow them to exist, we allow them to grow. Their entire ideology is the extermination of everyone else. You can't unlearn that. You can't reason with that. The only thing you can do is silence them now and forever. Story 6. It needs grassroots movements like the civil rights movement and probably a major education effort of the population. This will cost blood, sweat, and tears. Story 7. I've been feeling pretty disillusioned lately. I'm honestly at the point where I'm not sure it can be defeated. Maybe delayed a bit, but ultimately this is the road that unrestrained technology and wealth worship leads us down. I don't even really view it as fascism versus liberal democracy at this point. It really comes down to rich versus poor. Wealth will always work in the interest of wealth. We can try to combat lies with truth, but it has no effect. With modern technology at their disposal, the rich have unlimited resources to control the narrative. They control their own television stations, social media platforms, and publishing companies. All of these technology platforms have algorithms designed to radicalize people. You can't convince someone you're right when you cannot even agree on basic facts. I'm beginning to suspect that the only faint hope humanity has left is for these rich technocrats to author their own downfall by creating technology that surpasses human intelligence by orders of magnitude. It appears that as intelligence quotient increases, so does empathy. If that holds true with non-biological intelligence, then there's a chance that an incomprehensibly intelligent artificial intelligence that is beyond the control of the oligarchs will save us from ourselves. But, I mean, probably not. We're clearly living in some kind of quasi-hell world. Why would anything good happen? Story 8. It is quite simple, really. The people go to their congressperson's town hall, use phone lines, and tell them to do something or get out of the way. Just keep yelling louder and louder. Keep slowing them down more and more. Keep spreading real information. Support your local businesses and spend time outside in your community. Story 9. By pointing out the ridiculousness of it all. Like the fact that everyone has known Steve Bannon was a raging Nazi since he first showed up at Breitbart at least, but he was still too big of a coward to put his Nazi views on display for the world to see until Elon Musk had cleared the runway for him. Or the fact that Musk only did it because he's an immature person trying to gain attention, but we all know Bannon means it for real and is trying his best to gain favor so that Donald Trump will notice him, only he's still on the outs because Musk has the one thing Trump cares about more than sycophancy. Money. Story 10. I say we take the next person that does a Sieg Heil and have them drawn and quartered on live television. To be honest, though, I'm not sure if Nazis coming out of the closet is good or bad. I would like for them to shut the hell up, but I also like knowing who they are. Story 11. I think you have to seriously ask yourselves what has led to such a sizable group of people being comfortable with hurting others. More specifically, why has trolling people become a mainstream activity or part of a code of behavior for any level of authority? Do you imagine internet trolls are happy people? What kind of person is happy when other people are very upset? So you might go, terrible people, horrible people. And yes, that's fair, but how do people get like that? And you might say, they're just bad people. And that might be fair to say of some of them, but I don't think it's fair to say all of them. If you can figure out what leads people to a point where they feel no shame about being malicious, you might get to the bottom of this. And it might mean looking inward and confronting some uncomfortable truths. Story 12. Get rid of Citizens United. It allows corporations to pump billions into political campaigns to muzzle grassroots organizations or anything that doesn't benefit them. Story 13. It is basically society going through the stages of grief, as society tries to delay the inevitable and grows concerned, alarmed, and worried as the damage and suffering increase until it finally reaches some sort of critical mass, before then finally contemplating having an actual response. It feels like such a very stupid and inhumane waste as we have to sit here and watch this predictable and needless suffering increase as people sit and twiddle their thumbs. Get a move on. React. Do something. Even I myself did not expect things would go to such complete disarray so quickly. But now that it has, it is beyond time for action. It is the same thing with climate change or any other looming threat. We just want to ignore it in our complacency and continue living in comfort in our safe European homes. As long as I am good, it is all good. It is someone else's problem until it is not. First they came. This insular self-centered attitude is bad. Okay. As for what specifically needs to be done to defeat fascism, look to Germany in the 1930s. Never again, people declare, ignorant to what that means as they vote for far-right parties. So first of all, do not vote for far-right parties. Fascists may try to sneak and hide behind their masks, but they are still incredibly bad at hiding their stink. It is not hard to detect fascism when it is this odiously blatant. But people either are such selfish individuals willing to look past it, foolish idiots who do not see it, or blinkered ignoramuses who have such a delayed reaction and do not want to believe it or do not realize how fragile democracy really is because we have known nothing else. How did the people of Germany allow that to happen? People wonder as they are allowing it to happen. What you would have done is what you are doing right now. Administrators do not like it when you spell out this strategy that is historically proven to work, but once people have failed the simple task of not opening the door when the fascists come knocking, look to Germany in the 1940s. Story 14. The sad truth is we don't go out into the streets and unite with other humans. Instead, we come to the internet and voice our outrage, where billionaires can then drown out our voices with 10,000 bots upvoting fringe right propaganda. Story 15. America will face a big social crisis not later than the end of the year. You are getting split into two parts. Fascists and not fascists, whether you are a Republican or Democrat. That's the beginning. Story 16. There is a tested solid method to defeat fascism. Ask Charles de Gaulle. Spain was freed because the successor of the dictator just decided he did not want to be a dictator. Portugal because the generals turned on the dictator. So you can either hope for that or apply the de Gaulle method. I have a whole bucket of things to criticize about de Gaulle, but his stance on fascism is not one of them. Story 17. Not until the 1/3 of the United States who support him dwindles down to 1/10 or at least 1/5. I am not up for the battle of fighting my neighbor with guns and knives. Not yet. Story 18. The obvious answer. The same treatment you do for a brown recluse, dug out with a hot spoon. The lasting answer. By educating the masses and forcing the media to report the news, not opinions. The main problem in America is the assault on its own people. It hides the dirty while boosting the glory days. They aren't focusing on the future but the past. This is what conservatism is, the focus on the past. The problem is our past isn't great. America was built upon the backs of marginalized groups. Asians, Black people, or Irish people, these groups were exploited by the wealthy and, ironically, were among the same groups persecuted by the Nazis and newer versions. This ingrained racism allows for a handful of bad actors to point the spear right at the heart of our country and destroy it. This is where education would be needed by showing people that they aren't different. Giving everyone the same opportunities, the same dream will allow fascism to fall. We would recognize the atrocities and prevent them. Unfortunately, the only way to change the system is a hard reset. Those in power need to be removed, and those acting in bad faith charged. Unfortunately, this means we, the people, need to get off our butts and change it, either the preferred means by voting, but usually it amounts to the French Revolution. Story 19. Objective information is a fascist's most powerful enemy. Stay informed and repeatedly inform others. Learn history. Be skeptical. These neo-Nazis will try to tell you, don't call us Nazis, that was a Roman salute. A decent understanding of history, applying some historical context, along with a healthy dose of skepticism, will help inform you as to why and how those neo-Nazis are misleading you. Don't resign or get fatigued. Keep fighting. Story 20. America can consider these options. A rebrand fascism as a non-fungible token so it collapses in months. B. Convince billionaires it's bad public relations and watch them destroy it themselves. Which one works faster? Story 21. After they crash the country, after people lose their jobs, homes, and income, when basic necessities become unaffordable, and when crime rises, only then will the people turn on them. Story 22. The number one way to defeat a government is through organized labor strikes that disproportionately affect the ultra-wealthy. They, in turn, will apply the appropriate pressure on politicians. If a significant enough number of people strike, it can tank the economy so fast that it brings about rapid, massive change, which in turn ends the strike quickly, leaving no lasting damage to the overall economy. They have the money, the political power, the media, and law enforcement. The one thing we have is that there are more of us than them. It is our labor that makes the whole system work. That is why union busting and keeping us divided is so important. Do you remember when Tesla tried to block a union from forming at its Sweden factory? And the other labor unions joined in support of the workers, refusing to even collect Tesla's trash? Did you know that is illegal in the United States? The bipartisan Taft-Hartley Act of 1947 outlawed solidarity strikes and made it much harder to form a union at all, among many other things. As long as we are blocked from organizing our collective power for the benefit of the collective good, they will continue to defeat us. We must organize. Story 23. The best solution is to undo the resentments that make people more amenable to the flirtations of early-stage fascism. To borrow a phrase, it's the economy, stupid. Well, it's more complex than that, but that's a long story. Jobs shifting overseas or into urban areas or being automated. Lingering racial fears and the oft-repeated lie that diversity, equity, and inclusion is just the hiring of token minorities who are unqualified for a position. Reduced religiosity in general, especially in the more fundamentalist sects of Christianity. Culture wars, which I don't want to go into here, it's insane. A shift away from labor jobs that can be taught on the job to an information, service, and technical skills economy. a consolidation and automation of agriculture as an industry, a rising cost of housing, healthcare, and job training and education while wages plateau in most positions and industries. All these things increase resentments, stresses, and fears that are difficult to articulate. Someone like Donald Trump doesn't have to understand what these factors are or have the faintest clue how to fix them. His gift is that he can talk as if he can go in swinging against whatever uncertainty and it will just work out, it will be fine, you'll see. He can't fix this. He has no idea what causes these problems, much less how to address them. And the people who currently have his attention are largely those who created these problems, but are better at keeping quiet about that part, and can just feed him lines to keep people worked up while they loot the parts of the government they find antagonistic to their longer-term goals of less accountability, increasing labor abuses, or reducing overall responsibility to consumers, shifting things like housing supply to a subscription model and away from individual ownership, tipping healthcare and education entirely into private enterprise, and so on. What can claw us back from a slide into fascism is reversing the issues that brought us to this point where people feel like they need a World Wrestling Federation champion, even if he or she is a complete jerk, as long as someone gets a pounding and helps those struggling to fulfill a short-term emotional response to their pent-up and difficult-to-articulate life stressors. It will not be easy, but we can't not do it. And though many have been arguing this very thing all along, the overall trend has been slipping toward the current conditions for 30 years or more, and it is going to be a long, messy slog climbing out of this hole.